Thanks, everyone. And Carmen, take it away.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's start. That's just a little impression, grayish, foggy. It's not always like this. Actually, it has been very nice this year. Very sunny, almost too sunny, too dry. So let's hope for a fresher and cooler and better fall. Yeah. We are going to talk about both programs. I've seen in the chat that we have interested students in both programs. So let's see. Let's just move to the next slide. Okay, that's already, we have already done this. So we know who is going, who is interested in which program. Okay, those were kind of questions from the beginning. Okay, I will start with the original program and then talk a little bit about the ELP, the English language program. And I count on Laura with the application process because she's taking care of it. And I'm also today here quite alone because, oh, where's the slide with our nice photos? Disappeared somewhere. Here we are. Yeah, Nikolai Bloksov can't be here. He is on a sick leave, and I have the pleasure to be on my own at the moment here. Yeah, here you can see our contact info, Laura's and mine, and also Nico once he's back. It will be recorded, and you can get a copy of the presentation. So here's the slide about Berlin, just a little appetizer. I don't know who has already been to the city. It is the capital, as you well know, and it's the largest city in Germany, located right, as they usually say, in the heart of Europe. We have around 3.7 million people here, at least legally documented. There are probably a whole bunch illegally here. So many international residents, which is part of yeah, fun part of Berlin, that we are so international from more than 180 countries. Well, we are a hotspot of culture, politics, media, and science in Europe, but of course also in Germany. And it's a green city, which is kind of nice, green in both directions, green in terms of having many parks and lakes and whatnot, but we are also politically, of course, very green here. And it, well, with the affordable food scene, this is a remnant from the past. It's still affordable, but of course, we also have a high inflation rate and the prices have really skyrocketed, especially with respect to rents, but also the food has become a little bit more expensive. But living in the big cities in the US is probably way more expensive than here. Yeah, the regular program, the original program, is for the academic year, fall and spring. So you are probably interested in the spring 23, but we can also, maybe there are also interested students in the academic year next year, or the fall only program. It will start the program actually with the intensive 6-week language and culture program. It's called German Discourse and Culture. This is a required course. You have to take this, and it takes place like 6 weeks before the official German semester will start. And we expect like 2 years of college level German or the equivalent. And the program follows the German calendar, the academic year, fall and spring. But we also have a component now, the fall term program, which follows the US calendar, but then you have lesser choice of courses. Yeah, and the spring, the English language program follows an American calendar, and all the courses will be taught at the FU Best, the so-called FU Best program, with which we cooperate. And everybody also takes intensive German language coursework. And at the same time, you take subject courses in English. So you can take humanities and social sciences in English with the ELP, and with the original program, you can take the academic year for the humanities, social sciences, and STEM in German. So this is actually, those are the green slides, are the slides for the original program. This is my office here. I'm sitting actually right in front of the computer, you can see there. I don't know why this doesn't really, it's kind of okay, this is the International House where our office is located. It's our program center. We are on the first floor, actually a second floor. And we have here study rooms, seminar rooms, mailboxes, and a small library. Everything you need for. So we have already this. This is one of our writing consultants. She used to work for us. Okay, the German discourse and culture course, which will be finished after 6 weeks. And then when the German semester starts, the FU courses or courses at other universities where you can also cross-register, like the Humboldt, are offered. And we will customize the choice of courses, taking your level of language into consideration. So there are courses taught completely in German for degree-seeking students that you can join, but there are also courses in English for degree-seeking students, and also a whole bunch of international courses for international students taught in German on a somewhat lower language level. I already mentioned the cross-registration at other universities here in Berlin. At the art and music at the conservatories, you can only take theoretical courses, no cross-registration for master classes. Okay, here we have a sample of course schedules. As said, we try to customize. Each student will have a different course selection according to the language level, but also according to the different interests. Here are some examples of low to full immersion. Okay, let's talk. We can talk about this if you have questions on this later. Our expectations are that you take the German discourse and culture course, which will also have a weekly cultural activity. So it's taught on a daily basis. Apart from usually Wednesdays, we go out, and yeah. This is already the fall program, the fall only program, which includes block seminars. Block seminar means it's condensed teaching. So you will start beginning of March, and then with the German discourse and culture course, it runs to mid-April, and mid-April the German semester starts, and then there will be oh no, let's see, fall. Sorry, I'm in the spring. The fall, I mean, beginning of September, that we have just started now, and runs until mid-October. And then you take 3 block seminars on the 3 topics mentioned here. So any questions, or it's a little bit boring for me to just give a presentation without getting some feedback. Do you have any questions on this, on the course selection or on the different kind of programs? The students who are interested in the original program, are there any questions out there? No? Okay.
So I just wanted to make a clarifying point for Carmen. So in the spring, as Carmen mentioned, you do have access to the course catalog at the FU to take courses in German. It can depend on the level of German that you achieve at the end of the German discourse and culture course. In terms of as Carmen said, we really work individually with students to make sure that they're placed into courses that sort of meet their level and feel secure about. But unlike the fall program, which you can take regular courses at the FU, but the dates are different for the fall for that. But we have sort of this intensive fall semester program, which allows students to leave Berlin in December and come back for a spring term at their home campus, should they wish to. But for the spring, you do have access to sort of the course catalog at the FU for courses in German. Yeah, and
So,
Eva and Eddie, sorry, yeah.
Do you have the dates for the English program in the spring, like when it starts and when it ends?
The English program, at the moment we talk about the regular, the original program. I will talk about the English program a little bit later on.
Eddie, I'll put the dates in the
Thank
chat too.
you.
Yeah, I can put the dates in the
Okay,
chat. Yeah.
thanks.
It's at the moment we are on the green slides. We are going to talk about the English language program later on. So are there any questions on the original program at the moment? I've seen that a few want to participate in the original program. Okay. So here we have the housing situation. As you may have read or heard, it has become quite difficult and expensive to find housing in Berlin. We do have offers from the FU accommodation services. They help to place our students in dorms or student apartments. So one of those apartments or hotels they are located at Frankfurter Turm, Mitte, Wedding or Kreuzberg. The prices, they vary between 4,000 and 5,000 euros per semester. You cannot rent those apartments for just a month or 3 or 4, whatnot. So if you would come just for the fall term program, you have to rent for the entire semester. Those are a little bit luxury. There's more luxury in these student apartments and in the hotel than in a dorm. So those are privately furnished rooms. There's a small kitchenette included in the apartment, and you know, they are somewhat more modern than the dorms, as you can see. And the dorms are located in Schlachtensee, Hallbauer Weg or Götzallee. They are, as you can also see here, way cheaper than the apartments, but they are not as centrally located, of course, than the other housing options. Laura, do you want to say something on the policy, the Columbia policy on housing? With respect to private accommodations and stuff, that would be maybe helpful.
Yes, of course. So as Carmen mentioned, these are the 2 recommended options by the BCGS for the spring. We do recommend that students pursue these options. They're ones that we can provide support to and help through our contacts, you know, in Berlin. We do have a petition process for independent housing. So if that's something that you would like to, you know, sort of discuss with us, we can talk about that. But we do first recommend that students consider the options that are available and recommended by the program.
Okay, great. I've just seen that
I got
there's also
dates.
a question with respect to the dates of the spring program. So it usually starts at the beginning of March and it runs until the end of July. So the classes, I mean, the sessions will end mid-July. And then you have like a writing period of a week or so. So the deadline for submitting papers will be at the end of July. Those are the dates. Eva, no?
Yeah, if I could ask another question quickly.
Go ahead.
With the dorm housing, how do students, do they typically just use public transport to get to the university and stuff?
Yes. All of, I mean, part of life in Berlin is commuting, because nobody lives close to work or to studies, or so this whole concept of campus university is not cannot be applied to Berlin, to the Berlin situation. People commute to work and to the university, and we have a very good public transportation system. And the good news is that as part of the semester ticket, which will be valid beginning of April, because April 1st is the official start of the so-called summer semester, public transportation is included in there. So the program pays for the FU fees, which also include public transportation. Only for the month of March, you have to buy a monthly ticket. And I mean, we have a very, I mean, if you are, I mean, I don't know whether somebody is around who can tell something about the public transportation system, but it's really, you find everything here, from ferry boats to night buses to the subway system, streetcars. So it's very, very easy to get around in Berlin. And in the spring, it's also nice. You may want to consider to rent or to buy a used bike or so. So it's actually, I almost use only my bike to work and to go to places because it's just so much more convenient. Of course, you have to be a little bit careful and wear a helmet and stuff, but it's a nice city also to bike. Public transportation is easy, yeah, easy and relatively cheap. Any other question, Eva?
That's it for now. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
I mean, Carmen and Nico also, for the orientation, they provide really detailed instructions. So for that first, maybe you're coming off the plane into Berlin and feeling a little nervous, they provide really detailed information for those first couple of days. And then as Carmen says, during the German discourse and culture course, you really start to get your bearings and are able to master it yourself. But there's lots of support at the beginning as everyone's still figuring out the ins and outs from Carmen and Nico. Yep.
Okay, this is probably a slide that is not as relevant at the moment because it refers usually to students who stay for the academic year and have enough time to also do internships, but I don't want to take it out. So culture and integration in Berlin is also an important part because one part is your studies, but the other part is you need to integrate yourself to get the most out of your stay in Berlin. So we have certain suggestions and contacts where you may participate and get involved. So those are just a few examples for on-campus activities and off-campus activities. But we, of course, talk about this all in detail. While you're here and before you come, we have pre-departure sessions and everything. And yeah, we help you navigate also your life in Berlin, not just your studies. Here is a few examples how your volunteer agencies may help you to integrate yourself and be active. And those are just a few examples of individual organizations that help. So maybe that's the
and Carmen,
your turn.
Yeah, and we did have a good question, just talking a little bit about sort of how classes at the FU work in terms of being in class and then sort of when exams are. And I know you sort of briefly mentioned that, but maybe Carmen, if you want to expand a little bit about sort of how the academic course schedule works for classes at the FU. Yeah.
Yeah, so as said, we usually expect you to take 3 classes during the semester. German Discourse and Culture is a pre-semester course, as we actually you finish by the end of 6 weeks, and then the official German semester starts. Usually, students meet once a week. If it's not a language class, they meet once a week for their courses, and usually for 90 minutes. It's like a double unit, 90 minutes. And yeah, the main emphasis in the German system is put on the paper or the exam you will write in the end. So it might be deceiving to think that there's hardly any work, because sometimes many of the expectations of the instructors are very hidden. Sometimes it's sometimes a little bit of a hidden agenda, but they expect you to do your research. Sometimes they don't give you a reading list, so it's up to you to do the research on that, And but don't be afraid of that. I mean, we will have workshops on how to give an oral presentation, for example, the so-called referate, or how to write a paper. We have here writing consultants that you will meet on a weekly basis. So you will get a lot of support to compensate a little bit for, first of all, that you're not a native speaker, and second of all, that you're navigating a completely different academic system. Papers are usually little research papers. We expect that you write at least 10-page papers, and they are well structured. They follow certain, research rules. So, but don't be afraid. I mean, the details at the moment, it will probably not tell you too much. The details we will explain. It's fun actually to do something else than just writing essays, So
Yeah, and just to clarify, because they were just curious, so, and Carmen, you might need to help me with this. So usually courses are from sort of mid-April to the mid-July.
Mid-July.
Yep, and then there's a period of time, and then there's a deadline by which the BCGS would expect you to complete the coursework with, which is the end of July. So there's usually a culminating, you know, sort of cultural event that Carmen and Nico will do to sort of end the semester in the end of July. But that's traditionally how it works.
And the problem is because the American semester calendar is different from the German, we had to establish a somewhat artificial deadline. It's not a deadline that is built into the German system, but it's built into the US system, because you need your grades way earlier than your German or other students, degree-seeking students in the system. So you should not compare your deadline with the deadlines the German students get. But the German students, they can wait another semester until they receive their grades. You won't have the time. And the writing consultants, since you meet on a regular basis, they will also help you structure your work and also help you with your time management. So it is possible to finish the coursework at the end of July. And if anything happens, like medical reasons, or if you have a good academic reason, maybe you need to do more research or deeper research, we always have a petition process. So nothing is actually not a petition. A petition can always help you to get an extension, at least for one paper. But we also recommend to be finished by the time you will leave Germany, because in Berlin, because writing a paper in German while in the US or somewhere else is kind of quite difficult. And we don't recommend this. And we want you to be finished by the time the new semester in the US will start. And since usually the semesters start at the beginning of September, or then, yeah, beginning of September, it's a good idea to get finished before you leave. Yeah, the application process, quite easy.
Yep.
Laura?
Yeah, so students can start an application on our website, exactly where that red arrow is. The deadline is October 1st, although I will say that we're always happy to consider a late application. So if anyone has trouble with that deadline, please just let us know. It's a pretty straightforward application. We do ask for a writing sample. You'll be asked to speak with the German language representative at your home school, many of whom are on this call today. If you have any questions about who that person is at your home school, feel free to reach out to me and I can direct you to the correct person. And they'll sort of do a language evaluation with you to sort of help understand your level of German, which is part of the application process. And they'll submit those materials to us for review of the application. You'll also need a recommendation from a language faculty member, and you will also need a program approval form from your home school. A program approval form from your home school is usually someone within your study abroad office. And we also have those contacts. So if you don't know who in your study abroad office you should be talking to, again, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to connect you with that representative so that they can sign that homeschool approval form. And then we do also ask for an unofficial transcript. And I will mention, as I said, that the deadline is October 1st, especially if the faculty from the German department might need an extra time, to fill that part of the application. We can take that part a little bit later too. We really want to be flexible and, sort of be respectful of people's time. So feel free to sort of keep us informed and how we can help you, sort of complete the application. Yeah.
I mean, the good news, especially with respect to housing, is that we get pre-access to the dorm. This is a real privilege. So there are certain time lines that you will have to meet if you want to secure housing. But that's a little bit later, but nevertheless, one has to keep in mind that we try to be as flexible as possible, but after a certain point, it will be hard without having housing. Okay, should we move on to the...
Eva, did you have a final question?
Yeah, this is a pretty simple question. I just noticed in the application, I saw the German writing sample, but I think something also had like a statement of interest about the program or something. Is that one also written in German or is it English unless like otherwise noted?
We would ask that you do it in German, but if you feel that you can't, let us know. But yes, we would ask that you try to do it in German. Yep.
No, that's fine. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
also helps us to get to know you a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
because it's kind of difficult. We have not really much information about your interests and your, you know, what you're planning to do. And it's always for us, as the people on site, it's quite helpful to know what you're interested in. Sometimes we may arrange something, we will have to arrange something in advance or so. So it's good to know, you know, and let us know. Okay, now we're moving to the English language program. That's the spring only program. And as already mentioned in the beginning, it's a cooperation with FU Best, which is a program here at the Freie Universität. And it follows the US spring semester calendar. The good thing for students who do not bring any German is that low or no German is the expectations of this English language program. Nevertheless, we expect you to take intensive German language courses and then 3 elective academic courses in English. There are about 30 courses in the humanities and social sciences. It is a not fully integrated program, so your fellow students will be international. Here's an overview of the certain levels of language. And you get 5 credits for the intensive German language course and 4 credits each for the academic courses. And this is parallel. It's not like the German discourse and culture course, which is finished by the beginning of German semester, but this is, so you will always have language instruction, usually in the morning. And then in the afternoon, there are 2 shifts with subject courses in English. So here's a short overview, but it's also on their website and you can always refer to this. As you can see, there are interesting courses from all areas. And the campus of FU Best, where all the classes will take place, is in Berlin-Langwitz. So we have 2 main campuses at the FU, and one is in Langwitz, and the other one is here in Dahlem. And our office, the BCGS for the original program, is in Dahlem, and FU Best is in Langwitz. The classrooms are there and all the infrastructure. Okay. Christina and Philip will be your point of reference. Philip is the program manager. Laura is working very closely together with him. So if you have any questions, please reach out to them too. And the housing, they also use the student village, the so-called Schlachtensee Studentendorf. Then they also have accommodations at the student hotel, which is right in the center of the city. It's close to Alexanderplatz. And they also have a homestay component. Laura, would you like to say something to the homestay or to the housing in ELP?
Yeah. So just a note for the ELP that you would have housing just for the duration of that semester. So it is a little bit different in that they do arrange the housing contracts to reflect the dates of the ELP program. I just wanted to be clear about that as well. And so as Carmen mentioned, this past year, we actually, the BCGS did not allow homestays for the ELP program due to COVID protocols and just sort of thinking a little bit about that. We're still determining what we'll be allowing for spring 2023, if we're going to be including a homestay as one of the approved options or not. We wanted to mention it here because it's something we do hope one day to begin to offer again and to allow students to do. But for now, we're not quite sure about what we'll be allowing for spring 2023. And I'll be definitely sending any updates to students who are interested in the ELP as that progresses. So will be more information to come. But just a quick note about some of that as well. Yeah.
And there is no, as Laura pointed out, there's no flexibility for the move in and move out date. So that's, they don't have any flexibility with this. So. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's a little bit tricky, the application. I mean, because the courses you have seen, you have to prioritize those courses because it's a first come, first served system. So the sooner you submit your course preferences, the more likely you will get in those courses. So you should submit, in fact, even if your entire application is not ready yet, please submit the course selection form as soon as possible, just to make sure that you will get into your preferred courses. Yeah, that's the most important part, I think. And there are less required documents than in the original program, but Laura?
Yeah, exactly. So as Carmen mentioned, you do still complete all of the requirements on our website. And the course selection form I added, I think 2 weeks ago now up there. So it's available for you to see how to pick your courses. We say generally do in October because we have, again, assigned a date of October 1st. As Carmen mentioned, some of the courses are popular and we wanted to encourage students to complete applications early. But if you do need some more time and you want to submit a late application, you should feel free to be in touch. We can't guarantee that certain courses might be available for you. For, sort of for the Columbia students who might be on here, you do, and this is true for the original program as well. And one thing I forgot to mention about the application process before is that we do also have what's called a clearance process that you would need to complete with your Columbia homeschool. I would be the person to talk to for Columbia College and engineering students. And for GS, I'm happy to refer you to the correct contact at GS. For our consortium students and also visiting students, again, we do have that you speak to your study abroad office for homeschool approval as well. And again, I'm happy to sort of direct you in whatever direction you need in order to talk to your homeschool study abroad office. And we do also really encourage and ask that you connect with your German language department, even if you have no German language ability. I think that we really want you guys to integrate what you might learn on the ELP program here, back at your home campuses with your German departments, and want you guys to feel connected. So that's something that we do as part of the application process as well. There's no formal check mark that needs to come from them, but we just want to encourage that relationship, and hopefully you'll come back and want to take more German at your home campuses as well. You'll feel inspired to be able to continue. So.
Okay, just some sites and links where you can get more information. Okay, I guess, are there any questions, any comments, any concerns, let us know.
Yeah.
Hi, I was wondering for the spring semester, the original program, is there any way that we could see like a list of courses offered at the university or through BCGS?
Good question. Usually the German course bulletins that are published online will be published only some weeks before the semester will start. So the best thing to do is just check the spring course bulletin from last spring, because the courses won't repeat over and over again, but the kind of courses you can see. And there are also modules. Modules is like topics from different areas that will be repeated. The individual course may differ, depending on the interest of the instructor, but you get a general idea about the courses that will be offered. In which field are you? What do you want to study?
At Barnard, I am an urban studies major, and I'm also doing a German minor, so I'm interested in like urban history and also Germanic studies.
Excellent. So there are plenty of courses out there, and as said, you may even want to consider cross-registration if you may want to take one course at the Humboldt. So you will find many courses. Usually it's not a lack of courses, but the difficulty of making the choice of finding. But you will be, we help you navigate the system. We will have academic, general and individual academic advising sessions and cultural integration advising sessions going on. Okay, so
And
Thank you.
Giselle, if you want to send me an email with your interest, sometimes I know navigating the course catalogs can be, or even past ones can be a little bit tricky. And Carmen and Nico can, we can help direct you to the right places on the website if you would like that. So it's a little bit of a busy week. I know for everybody at Columbia, it's the second week of classes and lots going on, but we hopefully can get back to you, within the next couple of days to help you sort of navigate the website if you're interested in that. Feel free to send me a note, and I'm happy to connect and figure out how to help you navigate. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
you're welcome. So
Eddie, I think you were next.
Yeah, I had two quick questions.
Sure.
First was, when do we find out, like, one, if we get in, and two, what's like the date to commit to the program?
Yeah. So Eddie, you're interested in the English language program. So, as we said, we have to
Yes.
work in collaboration with the FU Best just to make sure that everything can, sort of move forward with, sort of on their end. So we'll hope to get back to students within 1 or 2 weeks once you've completed the application materials on the Teradata website. And then once you are admitted, we'll provide further information about how to commit to the program. And there's usually some sort of financial commitment that happens in sort of the ELP program in mid-November. I will mention that historically the ELP does require a pretty large housing deposit as part of the commitment to doing it. So that's something to maybe just keep in mind as you're thinking about things, that they will ask for a sizable financial commitment, usually by mid-November, to do that. And we'll sort of lay out that process for you. So we'll sort of explain how to commit to the program and how to move forward once you've been admitted. Yeah.
Got it. And my other quick question was, it's two-pronged, but first, are there other like sort of English programs nearby the university or at the same university? And secondly, like within this English program, how many students are there typically that enroll in the spring?
Yeah.
what do you mean? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the FO Best is the place where we offer English language coursework as part of this program. So their course list is really what would be available, for the spring as part of the BCGS ELP program. And the program is new, as Carmen mentioned. We just ran it for the first time this past spring. So we had a small but mighty cohort of 5 students, and we do have more interest than that for this upcoming spring. But we'll see what the final numbers come out to. I don't know how large the FU Best cohort
That's what
is
I wanted
generally.
to add.
Yeah, Carmen. Yeah,
So of course, after the pandemic, or it's difficult. I mean, they haven't recovered the old numbers yet, but you may expect 80 to 150 students, So that will also, depending on the enrollment at FU Best, they will also structure their course offerings. If they don't have so many enrollment, of course, there will be not that many courses offered. So it will depend, but it's a large cohort, usually. And let's hope that the pandemic will not strike back heavily. So it will be, there are many students around, but there are no other English programs around there. You asked
I
whether
just
there are
meant
other
more from like the perspective of like, are there going to be a lot of Americans nearby?
Yes, there are many Americans there. I mean, I would say 80% of the enrollment is based on the US. Yes. So I want to be clear here. I mean, it's a kind of island program. They try the most to integrate you as they can, but given the fact that most of the participants hardly bring any German, so you can imagine it will be a somewhat isolated situation.
Right.
And I don't want to make I don't want you to have wrong expectations with respect to this. And that's what I mean. That's a point of criticism that is always raised. It's an island program, but it's better to be here for some program that is limited in integration, but at least you can pick up some German if you don't bring any, and you may whet your appetite and maybe come back later on with a more integrated program. And of course, our hope is, and it's from the bottom of my heart. I mean, our goal was always to integrate our students as much as we can. But in a program where you don't bring any German, it's not possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So there are more.
Yeah.
Eva, is Eva the next, Laura? Okay.
So I was wondering, because someone brought up coursework. So I'm definitely interested in taking sort of humanity courses at the FU, but since I'm pre-med, and I would be interested in like possibly getting some more research experience or sort of volunteering experience in sort of the research medical field while I'm in Berlin, if I can. I was just wondering if there's like, I don't know if you've had like experience helping students with that before and stuff.
Well, it will depend when you will arrive, you know. I mean, you may be planning to arrive earlier and maybe have an experience in the medical field, but the medical field is always problematic because you need to bring a background, you know. I had some years ago a student who also just came for the spring, and he was able after the program to have not internship would be said too much, but it was like a 4-week kind of getting to know a little bit at the hospital here, at the university hospital. So there, I can, if you send me an email, I can send you further information. So we cannot promise that you get in there, but it may be an option to get to know a little bit of the hospital everyday life, you know. So we haven't had for a long time students in the medical field because it's not that easy to get in there, especially nowadays with the pandemic and all the safety precautions they take there. It has become even a little bit more difficult, but it's always worth a try. But you need to bring time, you know. I mean, during the semester, like interning just a day per week is not possible. It has to be a stretch of time, like let's say 4 weeks or so. And usually you have time, if you have a good time management and you write your papers early and finish up quickly, you may be able to start mid-July, for example, until mid-August or so. But as said, you have to apply ahead of time, and then we'll find out whether you have a possibility to have a certain exposure to, real life in a hospital and stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anna?
Yes. So since the English language program follows the American calendar, how would that accommodate, how would the program accommodate classes to the different schedule in Germany? And also would the classes in FU Best that we will register in, would they be made for the program itself, or would it be for
exactly they are created for the program itself? That's how they can offer it. It's not possible to take would not be possible to take those courses in the German academic calendar system. We don't have courses that finish by May. So our courses run into mid-July, you know, and all the courses offered, the courses I showed like some minutes ago, they are developed, the staff, the instructors are hired by FU Best exclusively for the purpose of teaching FU Best or students, or including our ELP students. So it's not, that's why it's not an integrated course. So you won't find any degree seeking students around. So that's how they can manage, you know.
And Carmen, we also had 2 questions in the chat. So Professor Mifflin mentioned we should talk a little bit about the courses that we usually offer through the BCGS, which is a great question. And I'll let Carmen talk a little bit about that because she often teaches a course herself. And then one of the students asked about, for the original program, would you say that most of the courses at the FU have final exams or final papers, and your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, that always depends on, let's start with the last question, a little bit easier. It depends on the field of studies. Usually in the STEM field or in some of the introductory courses, they may end up with an in-class exam at the end of the semester. Midterms are usually not a thing in the German academic system. That's rather exceptional. But in the ELP, for example, they have midterms and they have finals and stuff. And but in the German system, the original program, which follows the German academic system and calendar, usually in the humanities and many of the social sciences, you write a paper. Depending what kind of course it is, on which level, it's a 10 to 20 page paper in German, based on the research and on the course and the content of the course. So, and this will be expected to be submitted at the end. Sometimes you also have to give an oral presentation, which is in the beginning a little bit demanding and maybe a little bit, you may be shy, but you will, in the German discourse and culture courses, you will also practice, you know, and get exposure how to present, you know, or oral presentation in the German system. And there are always the writing consultants that can help. Yeah, it's a more, in the German system, you will have to take much more independence than you are probably used to, because as said, the professors not always spell out what they really expect. You have to go to the office hours and find out. You have to discuss the topic of your paper with them. Key is communication. Key is to communicate that you're a non-degree seeking student, only here for a semester, so that they know, you know, this is really important. But it's manageable, you know, and as said, we are accommodating the courses to your level of German that you will have reached after the 6 weeks. And you will find yourself maybe taking a mix of classes, maybe a fully integrated class, but also maybe one for the international students. You may take 2 courses for ending with an exam in the end, or 1 course with an exam and 2 papers. So it's always wise to have a mix. But we're going to discuss this, and what our main purpose is that you succeed in the system. And it's challenging, but it's manageable, and we have a long experience. Of course, many things have changed since the pandemic. I hate to repeat this over and over again, but that also brings me to answering the first question Deborah asked. We don't know yet what, usually we had a visiting professor from the US here, but we, given the pandemic situation, we put this on a hold for a couple of years now. So we won't have a colleague from the US in spring here. Well, last spring, we hired a faculty member from the FU teaching a course on introductory course on politics, society, and media in Germany. I don't know whether we are going to offer this course again. I haven't asked the instructor yet, and I don't know whether we are going to ask or find another one. Usually I'm teaching a class I teach a class in the spring on German-American relations in the 19th and 20th century. It's on perceptions and how the US, the media and politicians and whatnot, and the population perceived Germany and the Germans during those different time periods, from Bismarck to Hitler. And most likely this course will be offered again in the spring. But be flexible. I mean, there's so many interesting courses out there at the FU. Sometimes I feel it is quite, yeah, there are many courses out there, and I don't know whether it is. Sometimes I also recommend to go out there and have also fellow German and degree-seeking students around you, which is, of course, a plus to your experience, you know. But we'll see. It all depends what you bring and how quickly you pick up the language, and so it's not a one size fits all. It's actually all sizes and all colors and all whatnot. But yes, we may offer my course and another course, 2 courses, but we don't know yet exactly. So stay tuned.
Well, great. I don't know if there's more questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording at this point, but I don't know if there's people who would like to stay on. I have some time. I'm happy to answer some questions. If there's any Columbia students who want to talk about the process to get clearance or approval, I'm happy to chat about that a little bit as well for the spring. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording unless there's another question that people think is relevant for the whole group.
Okay, I'm also